Ever wonder what it takes to be called great? It's a title only one English monarch has ever officially held. His name was Alfred, and his story is more epic than any fantasy novel. Forget what you think you know about old stuffy kings. This is a tale of survival, cunning, and the forging of a nation against all odds. Imagine this. You're a young prince, the youngest of 5 brothers, and your world is literally on fire. Vicious Viking armies, the great heathen army, are storming across England, burning monasteries, toppling kingdoms, and leaving a trail of destruction. One by one, the other Anglo-Saxon kingdoms fall, until only your home, Wessex, is left standing. The pressure is immense. This was the world Alfred was born into in 849 AD. As a boy, Alfred was known more for his intellect than his brawn. He was fascinated by books and learning, a rarity in that brutal age. Twice he journeyed to Rome, seeing the heart of a fallen empire and perhaps dreaming of a future for his own people. But destiny had other plans. As his older brothers took the throne and fell in battle one after another, the crown crept ever closer to Alfred. In 871, following the death of his last brother, Ethelred, Alfred, at just 22 years old, became King of Wessex. There was no grand coronation, no time for celebration. He inherited a kingdom on the brink of collapse and a war he was already losing. The first few years of his reign were a relentless struggle for survival. He fought battle after battle against the Viking leader Guthrum and his seemingly endless forces. He paid them off with silver, hoping to buy time. But the Vikings were insatiable. They wanted land, they wanted England. The situation grew desperate. By the winter of 878, the Vikings launched a surprise attack, overrunning Wessex and forcing Alfred into hiding. This is the most famous part of his story, the stuff of legend. The King of Wessex, a fugitive in his own land, was forced to retreat into the marshlands of Somerset at a place called Athelney. It was here, at his lowest point, that the famous story of the burning cakes is said to have happened. Hiding in a peasant woman's hut, he was so consumed by his plans to save his kingdom that he let her cakes burn and got a stern scolding for his trouble. Whether it's true or not, it paints a powerful picture. A king brought low, living amongst his people, but never, ever giving up. Because in those swamps, Alfred wasn't just hiding. He was planning. He used the difficult terrain as a natural fortress, gathering loyal followers and building a small fort. From this hidden base, he launched a guerrilla war, staging hit-and-run raids against the Vikings, keeping the spirit of resistance alive. He was sending a message. Wessex was not beaten. The king had not abandoned them. Then, in the spring of 878, Alfred made his move. He sent out messengers to the remaining loyal forces of Wessex, summoning them to a rallying point known as Egbert's Stone. Can you imagine the scene? After months of fear and uncertainty, seeing the royal banner flying again must have been an incredible moment. An army of farmers, craftsmen, and soldiers united by their king, prepared for one final desperate battle. The two armies met at a place called Eddington. The clash was brutal and decisive. Alfred's forces, filled with renewed hope and fighting for their very existence, completely overwhelmed the Vikings. They pursued them to their fortress at Chippenham and besieged them for 2 weeks until, starved and defeated, the Viking leader Guthrum finally surrendered. But what happened next is what truly makes Alfred great. He could have executed Guthrum and slaughtered his men. Instead, he did something radical. He offered peace. He made a treaty with Guthrum, establishing a line dividing England. The north and east would be Viking territory, the Danelaw, while the south and west would be Alfred's Anglo-Saxon England. As part of the deal, Guthrum and his chief warriors had to do one more thing: be baptized as Christians, with Alfred himself standing as Guthrum's godfather. This wasn't just a military victory. It was a cultural and spiritual one. Alfred was turning an enemy into a neighbor, laying the groundwork for a future unified England. With the immediate threat contained, Alfred didn't rest. He knew the Vikings could return, so he began a radical transformation of his kingdom. He studied how the Vikings fought and realized he needed a new kind of defense. He created a network of fortified towns called burhs all across his kingdom. These were more than just forts. They were centers of trade and community, protected by walls and a standing garrison. He reorganized his army, creating a system where half the men were always on duty while the other half tended their farms, ensuring both security and a stable food supply. And what about the seas? Alfred knew England's coasts were vulnerable, so he did something revolutionary. He built a navy. He designed new, larger, faster ships, specifically to intercept and defeat Viking longships before they could even land. Alfred is often called the father of the Royal Navy for this incredible foresight. He was thinking not just about the next battle, but about the long-term security of his entire realm. But Alfred's vision went beyond military might. He remembered his childhood love of learning and saw how the Viking invasions had destroyed monasteries and scattered scholars, plunging the kingdom into a dark age of illiteracy. He believed that wisdom was as important as weapons for the health of a kingdom. So, he embarked on an ambitious educational and cultural revival. He invited scholars from across Britain and Europe to his court, creating a new center of learning. And then he did something truly remarkable for his time. He believed that knowledge shouldn't just be for priests and monks who could read Latin. He wanted his people, his officials, and even ordinary freemen to be able to read and learn in their own language, Old English. Alfred personally led this project. He learned Latin himself as an adult, and then began translating the most important books of the time, works of history, philosophy, and theology, into English. He wrote prefaces to these translations, explaining why it was so important for his people to have access to these ideas in their own tongue. This was a revolutionary act. He wasn't just saving a kingdom, he was preserving and creating a language, an identity, a culture. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, a year-by-year history of England, was also commissioned and distributed during his reign, giving his people a shared story and a sense of a common past. Alfred the Great died in 899, having reigned for 28 years. He left behind a kingdom that was not only secure, but also more prosperous, organized, and literate than the one he had inherited. His system of burhs became the foundation for many of England's modern towns. His legal reforms created a more just and stable society, and his vision of a united Christian and learned people laid the essential groundwork for his successors, his son Edward and his grandson Ethelstan, to go on and conquer the Danelaw and create for the first time a single unified kingdom of England. So, why is Alfred the Great? It's not just because he won a decisive battle, it's because he was a complete leader. A warrior who saved his people from annihilation, a strategist who rebuilt his kingdom's defenses from the ground up, and a scholar who believed in the power of education and culture to unite a nation. He faced the abyss and didn't just survive, he built a future. He is the ultimate comeback king, the architect of England, and a ruler whose legacy truly earned him the title Great. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed learning about Alfred, please hit that like button and subscribe for more epic stories from history. Let me know in the comments which historical figure you'd like to see covered next. See you in the next video.